Hey everybody, I know I haven't ever done a video like this before, but today I want to talk about the fallen state of the gaming industry. And this is kind of a big issue I've been facing today. So, a little background, when I was first introduced to video games, it was back in like 2006 with the Nintendo GameCube, and they were playing Super Smash Brothers. It's a great way to get people in the community and have it cultivated and just bring together healthy communities fighting together with Nintendo characters. Now, I grew up in the era of 2006, and so I actually owned a PSP back in the day, and that was like my main platform I played on. And I had a good friend who played SOCOM Fireteam Bravo 3, and we loved the game. It was amazing, and we had lots of fun together. But let me just say that throughout this video, I'll explain how just video games have changed and how companies are just so greedy these days with their actions they're taking. So I liked when game companies actually cared about the customer over everything else. And then, so many companies have been selling like unfinished games. Um, and around like 2012, 2013, I've noticed kind of like a small change happen in video games than what it used to be. One of the biggest games is Grand Theft Auto 5. When I noticed this in like 2013, I noticed that they created a good, solid single player, but they lacked a lot in online. They have a good online. It just throughout the years you see an influx in the economy and just a huge upward spiraling of prices, and just the inflation rates on that is just dramatic. Um, but I'll explain more of that a little bit later. But I also saw games go towards more online route. A lot of game companies need more money, so they went from single player to more online based. Some examples are League of Legends, Hearthstone, Overwatch. These were like major games, and by creating these online games, it can be dangerous, but it also mean good. But throughout the years, we have seen it become more dangerous than anything. And I think a small problem I do want to relate that if someone does not have internet and they want to play games, it's not that big of a problem, but they just can't. They don't have an internet connection. So the year I noticed just the gaming industry was doomed was in 2016, when No Man's Sky released from Hello Games. And on YouTube, I saw like a lot of videos explaining like what happened, like what was wrong with the game, and why it just was a bad game to start out with. I didn't like this because what I noticed is that Hello Games publicly said that there was multiplayer, that it was a great game, it was open world, that you can meet different people. But on opening day, they sold so many pre-orders, and then it just ended up being an empty world. No planets, no anything. It was kind of bad. There was no multiplayer. It was just barren planets, no AI, barely any AI that actually interacted with you. They just wanted to turn a profit. And then what was so bad is that 2 years later, in 2018, they finally fixed the game and made it like what it should have been on No Man's Sky Next, rebranded a new game, and that's just a shady tactic, and I don't support any company that does that. The next game I want to talk about is probably the most famous that you guys have heard of is PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, or PUBG. And they are okay, but Bluehole just is just amazingly bad. That's how I can put it. Is that they created a good game, a solid, good idea with a great platform with the Xbox One or with the PC, and then onto the Xbox One. And I really wanted to get this game. It was like the best battle royale. I thought it was going to be the only battle royale, but it was so bad. And I can actually give you a lot of good reasons of why someone should never buy this game. Now, first of all, they created a broken game full of glitches and bugs where it's barely even playable. Well, people will die from a bike crashing, like a bike crashing. Let's be honest, guys. Like that's like the most random death you can have and get eliminated for that. It's pretty bad. Next, they keep creating maps for players to play on. And this isn't necessarily a big thing, but they're kind of like distracting people of how like their base bugs, and I don't think it's a good idea. It's just that's not the direction they should head in. And next, they decided as a season pass, just like Fortnite. And I don't have a problem with this as long as it's maintained well. But they had a $10 price tag on it, that season pass. It was okay content, like you got good clothing, you got skins and everything, but it was all temporary. Yes, that's it. That's temporary. You only get it during the season. You get to keep none of it by the end of the season. I just don't like that. Next, I want to say that they tried to sue Epic Games for the game on Fortnite, but it didn't necessarily work out that way. They had a good platform. It was in South Korea where they were in, and they follow the Confucian system. And Confucius actually believed that if anyone had a first-hand knowledge in creating a product, they have the sole property of the product. So since Bluehole made the engine, they had the sole rights to it, and anyone copied, well, yeah. But that's the only thing they had. Everything else, like, was totally different, and they had, like, it was a totally different game. PUBG versus one's cartoony, one's real life. You kind of get the idea. And next is the last reason is that they created this for a $30 price tag, unfinished game for $30. Like that is just ridiculous. Ridiculous. It should be free, especially for a broken game like them. That's still in early access, I believe, but they're even spreading out to later consoles and everything. That it's still broken. I don't know. They just need to die. It's just they're a bad company. Yeah, PUBG. But I learned later that this wasn't the only battle royale. Luckily, I waited and didn't buy PUBG. But first of all, I have a Mac. That's what I'm recording this on. But I don't have a good enough PC to play PUBG unless it's like very low settings. I don't like it at all. But and I guess another reason I don't buy the game is this it's not rendered. It's just not finished. And so like I only the 3% of the gaming population could play it that have like $3,000 PCs and above. It's just ridiculous. So the next game I want to talk about, Star Wars Battlefront 2. And yes, this probably got the most negative PR back in like 2017. It was like the laughingstock. And I knew EA was bad ever since they created, I think, Battlefield 1. It's just, yeah. They took a different path of what they used to be, and they're not the same company. But since I've been studying and analyzing trends like these for the past like 2 years, I knew they were going to create a bad game. The first instance was at E3 of, I think, 2017 over the summer. When they announced that all DLC will be free, I'm like, yeah, it's not. There's no way. No DLC is free in EA. They have to find some price tag to make some people pay money. So, yeah, I knew EA would screw this game up. But you saw this once they released the beta. They had a pay-to-win system. You pay the best loot boxes, you get the best items. And That's shady. It's just I don't like that because it creates an unfair advantage. Like if someone has 15% armor on a ship, you can bet they're going to win against someone else that has zero. Yeah, but I think soon after Star Wars Battlefront 2, they took a huge net loss in their profits, and I was laughing at this. And I want EA to die, and they are the most shady company I've seen. And just every company these days. It's just they created the hype, and they actually delivered a good product, good graphics, kind of good gameplay, but it's just not fair because you'll lose. And it was like it was an okay story, good action, but the AI were okay. Um, but it's like EA just has a shady business model. It's like if you pay let's say $60 for Battlefield 5, the newest game, it's like you're paying $60 for a pizza, but you're only getting 4 slices this month, 2 slices next month, and then the rest of the pizza next month. It's like no. When I want a game, I want a finished product. I want a full pizza. I don't want half a pizza. I don't even want a quarter of a pizza. I want a full pizza because that's what I paid for. And I think that's. I'll talk more about it later, but it's so broken. And next game, I'm pretty sure you heard this one's the newest one. It's Fallout 76 with Bethesda, and I had a hint of this, and that they were going to screw this up. They created good games like Fallout 4 and Skyrim. Don't get me wrong, they're good games. I'm not a huge Fallout fan, but it's not my style, but I get that they're good games. But Fallout 76 just screwed the pooch, and I knew they were going to do this, and I knew every Fallout fan would be upset because this trend in companies is this. It's like a domino effect. It goes EA to Ubisoft to Bethesda, and then it's just all these dominoes. Even Capcom with Street Fighter 5, they still refuse to fix that game. I'm not a huge Street Fighter fan, but I've heard the fallout. Yeah, but everything of like all the shady business tactics of Bethesda with the nylon bag, with just everything they do, like even with the refund of the nylon bag, 500 items for in-game store, that's nothing. Yeah, that's nothing. Like, it's only $5 in real life, and you're expecting a $40 bag at least. It's not what people should have got. And next, they like don't have refunds. It's just Bethesda is doomed. They created good games in the past, but I don't think they can turn over on this one. They're done. Now, there are many other games I could talk about, like Assassin's Creed Origins from Ubisoft, Far Cry Primal, Far Cry 4, Black Ops 4, and like Microsoft games from last. Even Microsoft, like they created good games in the past. Don't get me wrong, but this past year in 2017 or 2 years ago, they made such bad games like Sea of Thieves and State of Decay 2. State of Decay 2 is just a mess. They had a good platform, good story. It was glitchy and buggy. Gameplay was bad. It's just not what people expected. And Sea of Thieves, I liked the idea. It was nice, flowing. It was good graphics. You could play with others. It was fun, but it didn't create much of a story. It was just kind of like GTA's mission, where you go literally pick up something, bring it back, get a reward. Go get something, bring it back, get a reward. It's like it's just back and forth. Yeah, even with Black Ops 4, it's bad. Because you pay like $80 for a digital deluxe version, where you get, I think, 4 extra new zombie maps on the new one, 3 extra old zombie maps on the Black Ops 3, but that's not even including the season pass. And I don't want to be paying $130 for a full-on game. That's just That's ridiculous. I liked it back in the day in 2006 to 2010, where it's like if you paid $60 for a full game, that's what you got. I'll just leave it up there for now. I'll talk about more later. But next, I want to talk about like the strategies used by the gaming companies. The first one is like No Man's Sky and Battlefield 5, where they, or even Fallout 76, they create a game and hype it up so much for people like wanting to buy this game, really excited because they like the franchise, but they don't understand what's happening to the gaming industry. It's just, it's kind of bad that people are so ill informed, and so it's just really bad because, sorry, I lost my train of thought. This is really bad because people hype this game up so much. Pre-orders come in, they get all the money, and then they don't fix this game. And the game's so broken, and the company doesn't even respond at all. They're negative towards saying anything or doing anything, and that's what I don't like about companies these days, but there's nothing I can do about it. But after a while, once they get all the revenue, paid all the salaries, get all the profits, they finally fix the game. But by that time, is it too late? People have already forgotten about the game, moved on to something else. It's not like that. Another one is like Star Wars Battlefront 2, where they create a loot box system. And it's just an unfair advantage and creates gambling because you think you're going to get something good, but you're not. It's not right. And the next one is the next company I want to talk about is Rockstar and how they created GTA. And like I said, it was a great game, just online. They inflated the prices so much. I was pissed off when I saw the inflating prices, where it went from $300,000 for the best supercar, and now it's like 3.2 million. Like, why? Just why? And so, yeah, I actually glitched the game, and I paid various modders to actually hack the game for me and give me a ton of money. So now I have like, I think 700 million or something like that now that I have left over. But I probably spent like maybe well over 1.8 million, sorry, $1 billion on the game, like for the in-game currency. It's just insane that they inflated, and they just had so much outrageous prices. But they do the same thing for Red Dead Redemption 2, where in order to buy the best horse, you have to grind, I think, over like 500 hours. And that's just ridiculous because people don't have the time to grind 500 hours. Or you could just pay $200 to Rockstar and get it instantly. Shady, shady, shady. I don't like what these companies are doing. It's not right. And I think to conclude all this bad stuff I've been saying, I want to be clear that not all companies are bad. Some are actually good, but many have made the switch to care more about the profits than the customers. The biggest companies I can think of are like EA, Ubisoft, Bethesda, Microsoft, and Activision. These companies need to be taught a lesson and be shown that they can't get away with anything. But other companies see that EA and Ubisoft are like doing these practices, and they are copying off them. It's just they're lying to the public and promising so much and delivering nothing. And next, I want to talk about all the good stuff of gaming. Now, this is what I praise the most. Now, the first one is esports competitions. League of Legends, CSGO, and Overwatch are the big ones I can think of. But they do a good job. They cultivate a good community, and they create these arenas and make a whole bunch of money go into it. I love it. Also, through just competition in games, by adding a competitive side, gamers love a good challenge, and it gives everyone a good test. And also gives them good rewards if they are the best. But depending on certain games, gamers can show off their skills, emotes, skins. This is good because people can just have fun in the games. I like that. Crit's good. community together. And next, I want to talk about like how video games have created a space of just community. I think the biggest one I've seen is Pokemon Go. I loved Pokemon Go. It was a good game. It had a good concept, especially for Pokemon fans. Even though there was some negative PR about people running off a cliff or that people have been mugged and steal, it doesn't matter because those are really rare. And I'm sorry for the people that have gotten those, but I want to talk about the good side where people can go to a park or a city and just bring the community together and just talk about one specific issue. And that's what I've seen different about also this day and age too, is that people can connect more on a certain issue. So if you, by God, I'm gonna hate this, but Fortnite, when I see kids doing the floss and different emotes done by everything, it's good to see that, but it's also annoying because it's good. It's annoying to see them do it, but it's good because we can just talk about something and have fun together with the game itself. It's just video games have also they create a good community. Now, the one thing I do want to talk about that recently hit the news is Ellie. You probably heard of her. It's basically a guy who created a fake esports player, and this is like more of a social experiment than anything, but it's just kind of bad about many different issues facing it where you don't really need any background check or any research done and to actually become one of these, and people will literally just accept anyone if they're good. And people also didn't like it because it was actually a girl becoming on the esports team when it's mostly guys, and guys are good, and it's been like the face of sports in general. But when they accept a girl into it, it's not really because just girls think differently. It's kind of like from Iron Man 3. If someone puts a face out there, people will believe it. And if he didn't show his actual face, they will believe that image. And it's just, I can go more into that, but not right now. Now I want to talk about the games who are actually doing a really good job in the game community right now. And you might agree, you might not, but some games that come to mind are like Mojang, before being bought by Microsoft, Epic Games, Blizzard, Riot, and Nintendo. All these games are good games, or are good companies that create good games. And they do this because they actually listen to their fans. I think the biggest one I've seen is Overwatch. They love their fans, they listen to their fans, they change anything about the game that needs fixing. It's just a good job overall. And I think that there's a lot to be said about also Nintendo. They create good games too. I'm not a huge Nintendo fan, don't own many of their consoles, but I love a lot of their games. Super Smash Bros., Splatoon, Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, Mario Kart, I go on. But they create good games for the customer or for the customers, and they do a good job with no bugs, glitches, or anything. I could go more into that later, but again, I wrote a lot here in this essay. And next, I want to talk about the negative side a little bit and toxicity. Toxicity is a lot, and it could be negative in gaming, but I feel like it's important. But I feel like it's lost something very important. Just in gaming in general, is that the fun aspect. People don't have fun anymore in video games. They only care about winning. And I get that people want to win sometimes, but if someone is being a jackass on your team, let it go. It doesn't, it just, people just need to have fun. And if there's a jackass or just someone in the way to interrupt someone's playstyle or anything, just quit and move on to another match. It's not that big of a deal. People are idiots, and you just have to accept that. And I've observed this through League of Legends, Overwatch, CSGO, um, Super Smash Brothers. But I feel like we just need to have fun in the video games. We need to create more of a community. We just need to have fun. I think people lost that, and I just, yeah. Another category that's very important is streamers. Streamers are very important because they stream a game, tell you what to do. Um, I think the best example of a streamer is Ninja. Now, you may think differently, but of what I've seen, he's pretty good. He and his main game is Fortnite. He knows Fortnite. He loves Fortnite. Um, he knows how to play the game. He's pretty good. He's not the best, but he's good enough where he can actually teach people. And I think that it's just he's funny. He creates a good community. He doesn't curse. Very family oriented. He's a good streamer. I think that's what sets him apart is that like he's very open about his life, everything about his wife, where he lives. Well, not his like actual address, but everything about his life he is open and willing to share. Another thing is like um, every comment he gets in the stream, he will answer it if someone donates. So if someone is like, yeah, I'm dealing with bullies at school, Ninja, can you help me? He literally stops in the middle of his live stream to tell him what the kids should do. It's like, yeah, you should go to your teachers, blah, blah, blah. And I think it's really important that streamers do that and care about the community. I think the next is that when he goes to a famous event, he actually cares about the fans. He loves taking pictures, signing. He does a good public image, and I think that's different. Um, yeah, and he's also very open about his money and just shares it with everybody. He's not, he does make a lot of money, I get that, but he shares a lot too with other people. And so I think a streamer these days needs to have certain qualities. Um, they need to be open. They need to be good at the game. They need to share how to play the game. They need to help anyone who's there. They need to be loyal to their fans, and they just need to be funny and smart. And I think people just lost that. It's just people like cursing, or they just are boring. And if you're a streamer, just be creative to your community. It's just I've seen a lot of negative streamers, and I just think they should just be gone because they are not helping the gaming community at all. The next category I want to talk about is the battle royale genre. And I want to circle back to this because PUBG was a good genre, but it was only on Xbox One. And I didn't own Xbox One or PC at the time. But when I heard about this concept, I was like, okay. And this is probably a year after PUBG, when it was first released. There's a game called Fortnite that I heard of. I'm like, Fortnite, interesting. What's it about? And this guy was like, oh, it's basically just like PUBG, just cartoony. I'm like, wait, what? Oh my gosh, I need to download this because I heard it's free, and I'm like, yes, thank you, Battle Royale. That's actually free to play. But then I noticed shortly after Fortnite, it just a bunch of games have been coming out. H1Z1, Realm Royale, Rules of Survival, The Calling 2, Ark Survival Evolved, Radical Heights, and many more. But this was getting unhealthy, and this is still getting unhealthy at the time. I think the biggest one I want to talk about is Radical Heights. They created a good one, but it was like really pre-alpha stage, and people shouldn't give negative press to this because it's pre-alpha. It hasn't even released yet. It was like bad textures and everything, but they had a good gameplay and good idea of the game where you can do front flips, you can ride bikes. It looked like a really fun game. It's just a good culture, but apparently the guys who made it, Boss Key Productions, ran out of money. So I was kind of sad about that. But all these games are coming out, and they're looking to get more money, but it's just of one genre, and people can't pick and choose of all these companies. They can only choose one. And I don't like that because it's the same thing of what happened to Atari in like 1984 or 1980s. It's just, you had so many of one idea where people like companies will rise, other companies will fall. And I think this is what's going to happen is that sooner or later, like within the next 3 years, many companies are going to fall. And they're going to lose a lot of money. And only the people that actually are going to do good, I think Fortnite's the best example of this case, is that they will actually succeed and make a lot of money while others fall. And I think the gaming industry is going to take a huge hit from that. But in conclusion of all these things, I just want to say how gaming has changed. People need to wake up. Companies are not going to sell you a finished product anymore. And what I mean by finished, excuse me, is that finished means that they are complete. When I buy the game, that's all I'm getting. No more DLC, no more bugs, glitches. I need it to be a full game when I buy it. Like when I bought, I don't know, Marvel Ultimate Alliance on the PS2. That's all I got. It was a perfect game. It was a good game. They did a lot to it, and that was all I got. And I was happy because I wanted to buy the next game. Or it's like God of War, or the Sony side. And that's why I support Sony, is that they have finished games and they do a good job. Is God of War created a great game, had a good story, good platform, good everything about it, and they left you with so many unfinished answers where it's like they don't have any DLC for you to buy. They're waiting for the next game for next year. That's what companies are missing, is that if they're like, oh, well, we didn't really finish this game, but we can give you a DLC that you can pay for. I'm like, no, I don't want a DLC. Just make a new game if you can do that. It drives me crazy. But companies are just lying and deceptive, and it's like, I think another example is that I think, imagine you're waiting for a bus that's super fast and is carrying a famous band. And you see a very golden, beautiful, shiny bus in the distance and heading straight for you very fast, and it looks so good to look at that you cannot wait for it. But then it stops and you get on. But when you get on it, it's full of homeless people, smell like a dumpster, and the bus smells like urine. The bus is rusted and parts are flying off as dries. It's painful and it hurts to look at. But the question is, do you stay on the bus and do you think it's going to get better, or do you just get off? And this is what's happening with the gaming market. And there's companies just driving up the hype, expecting them for pre-orders, and then they'll fix the game later. That's one tactic. And I talked about many others before, but people need to be smarter about what they buy. And I'm a pessimist, and I believe that there's no hope for the gaming, or there's some hope. Nintendo and Sony are doing good, and indie titles are doing good with some JRPGs as well. But all the AAA titles will be upsetting. Like, most companies just need to make money and hit their quota for stock prices, but they need to see the loyal fans to do that. It's just unacceptable for games to put out an unfinished product. If they're going to do that, they are going to die. Otherwise, no gamer is going to buy their games. And just like the CEO of EA with Battlefield 5, just don't buy the game. But the gaming industry is failing because companies realize the profit is more important than the customer. So they're failing to make good games.